Speakers a lot, and they're fucking banging. Speakers a lot.
Hey everybody, it's Caesar here at The Way TV. Today I'm interviewing Bobby Del Rio, actor, and we're going to learn about some different things here about how the current border situation with the US is affecting Canadians working abroad, how the um, writer strike affected and actor strike affected Hollywood. Learn more about Hollywood, and also some opinions on ICE, Trump, and just things like that from a Canadian perspective. As someone who's been working there, based out there for the past little bit, so I'd like to start by asking you, Bobby, how did you grow up?
Well, I grew up in Toronto. I mean, I was born in Toronto, and then I actually lived in the Bahamas for 4 years when I was a baby, which I think actually kind of changed my. I mean, obviously, it didn't change my perspective from like an 8 month old to I need to rethink some things. Uh,
Yeah,
but like, it's funny now. Like, I'm 47 now, and growing up essentially with people of color during my formative years, where it was obviously very normal. That's how I saw the world. I think it changed the way that I view race politics because I think
yeah,
in North America you're kind of like everything is through the sort of like white lens, and
yeah,
for me, I grew up through the Caribbean lens, so it's I don't know. I think I'm a little more objective. Like I just see people as people, you know.
yeah.
Yeah.
Cool, cool. Yeah, that's actually pretty interesting that you grew up in the Bahamas. And when you got back, how was that? Like, you spent high school here, I assume, and
Oh yeah, yeah. Look, I was only in Bahamas for 4 years, but it's like when you first enter the world and you're conscious, it's like those earliest memories. I think they impact your your basis of comparison for society.
yeah,
So obviously, Toronto is a very multicultural society, but I just think we always need to question the lens that we filter through. And now like I work for a news network in Canada, news forum. So being objective about things is very important, but it's amazing how many biases that we just kind of have in life. So I'm always sort of challenged,
yeah,
like how do I kind of see things the way they are?
yeah. That's very important in today's age with like a lot of misinformation and propaganda to see things as they are.
Oh yeah,
Um,
I've just been hosting a show called Open Source, which is
yeah,
about technology, and I'm going to do a new show in the fall, which I haven't announced yet. But I did an episode on open source on disinformation, and
yeah,
I actually had this American professor who speaks about disinformation professionally, and it was like pretty powerful, like the forces at play when it comes to that.
yeah. What are some of the forces at play?
Well, I mean, the power of social media and these enclaves and these little tribes and silos and echo chambers that the world sees issues through is very powerful. And it's not just like, oh, I think this, or I watch Fox News and I watch CNN or whatever. Like, it really like changes the way that you see and view truth and yourself. And it takes someone who's very like critical of the media to see through that. And I don't know how many people, especially it's like I'm older, right? Like people who are younger, who have never had to think critically, or the propaganda that they consume is so strong, or there's some people who really just have certain channels that they view life through, and they don't even question the channel. So it's quite an impact when you think about there's 8 billion people on the planet, and you don't
Yeah.
really know which view of the world they actually think is real.
8 billion realities.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a lot of realities, man.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, I'm gonna change the topic. How did you get into acting?
Acting is something I kind of always did. Like I was acting as a child, but not like professionally, but I was always the lead in class plays and stuff in school. But I don't remember exactly how old I like maybe I was 6, I was 8. Like my whole
Yeah,
life is always just what I did. But I started working professionally when I was about 20. So I went to U of T in Toronto. Um, and then I studied economics my first year at St. George. Then I transferred to the University of Toronto, Mississauga. I did a joint program with Sheridan College for theater and drama study.
yeah,
Yeah, and then I started doing like commercials and movies and stuff while I was in school.
true, true.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so the first movie I ever did, I just literally had one line for a movie on HBO with Jeff Daniels and Jenna Malone. So like my first on-screen line is opposite Jeff Daniels. Like pretty wild.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, he was cool. I was like 20. I was like, oh, all right.
Yeah, that's pretty interesting, man.
Hmm.
Um, what was your line?
That's a
Do
good
you
question.
remember?
Uh, I'm just here for the free food. That was the line. I was like a stoner, and it's
You
funny
played a
because
stoner. That's sick.
yeah, I was a stoner. But when
Do
I
you
first
smoke weed
went
in
in,
real life?
no, 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 no. I mean, like when I was younger, like, was I,
When you were younger, you
I
did, but not
partied or
anymore.
whatever. No, I'm 47 now. So,
You grew
yeah,
out of it.
yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean, not everybody does, but for me, I just wasn't. It's not my thing. But it's funny because when I auditioned for that movie, it's called Cheaters. I went in to play a gangster. So
Yeah,
he was like, "I'll kill you." I don't know, whatever it was, right? Whatever the lines were, right? But before I went to the audition, I was just like in a fun mood. So I started like breakdancing, like in the audition. Like I was just making jokes because I learned to breakdance when I was in university. So I was just like, "Hey, I can breakdance," but I just started like doing all this stuff, and I was making everybody laugh. And then I was like, "Okay, sorry, sorry, sorry." We'll get into the audition. It's like, "I'll kill you," whatever, right? But I guess
yeah.
at that point they had already like made up their mind like I was kind of like fun and stuff. So they ended up just giving me a role as like this stoner, and I was like, all right,
Okay,
yeah, that's cool.
cool. So, how do you think you were affected by the Hollywood writers and actors strike? I think that was last year. Am I wrong, or was that a
Three.
2023? 2023?
Uh-huh. Well,
Yeah,
I was very impacted. I was in LA during the strike, so I was there every single day of the strikes. It's funny. So I had just done 40 episodes of a TV series called Daily Drop, which is all about
yeah,
cryptocurrency, right? Same network. And I had interviewed Terrence Winter, who wrote Wolf of Wall Street,
yeah,
and he's cool, right? So we got along really well. We shoot the show in St. Catharines,
okay.
which I know that you spent some time there. So
Yeah, I did.
yeah, so I was in St. Catharines, and Terrence Winter is in LA. And we shot the show, so it's kind of like what you're doing, but I'm like in studio, the guests zoom in, that's the show, right? But the show's
Yeah.
like 22 minutes long, right? So then, we would chat between takes and on camera. We just got along. So um, we had connected offline, and he was like, "Well, when you're in LA, like, let's meet up." And I was like, "Oh, cool."
Yeah.
So I met Terry in LA in person, and he bought me breakfast. We had a great chat. He's a great guy. And I remember him telling me it was like a Friday, and he was like, "Yeah, yeah, we're packing up because we're gonna go vacation for maybe a long time on Monday." I was like, "Oh, why?" And he's like, "Oh, because the strike I think is going to be really long and it's going to start on Monday." And I was like, "Oh,
Oh, okay.
And I was only supposed to be in town for another couple days. And then I was like, okay, well, maybe I'll stay in town for because I was curious. Right? I was like, oh, what's going to happen with this strike? And then I kept getting more meetings and events, and the strike kept getting bigger, and then it turned into two strikes. And the next thing I knew, I was there for 6 months,
Oh,
uh,
true.
and I couldn't work. So, I mean, the thing is that so the strike was SAG, which is like the actors union in the States, and
Yeah.
WGA, which is the writers union, screenwriters in the States. So I'm not a member of either union. I'm a member of ACTRA, which is the Canadian equivalent of SAG, basically. But
Yeah.
I'm not a Writers Guild of Canada member. So
Okay.
I technically wasn't on strike. But because I became very popular internationally on Clubhouse in 2021. And
Okay.
so about 75% of all my followers across platforms are American now. And so the thing is that even though I was Canadian, most of my audience was American. And I was like, okay,
Yeah.
well, I can't I can't work, even though I was allowed to work because I wasn't a member of those unions and I could shoot in Canada. I just felt like if I work when all my colleagues and audience members are on strike, it's gonna be perceived like I'm doing something wrong, basically. So I put myself on strike in solidarity with both unions. Now, at first it wasn't both
Yeah.
unions, and I didn't know it was gonna last for 6 months. No one knew how long they were gonna be. But basically, yeah, I wasn't allowed to work because I put myself on strike. So I just was in LA and I ended up having 250 meetings and events in Hollywood while I was.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Jeez.
Yeah.
Well, that's history right there. I mean, I learned about how some stars on like the Orange is the New Black were still bartending and waitressing and stuff while they were on the show and they were famous because like they didn't get
Yeah.
paid very well.
Yeah. I mean, look, if you do a big show, I mean, it pays pretty well, but it depends like what's your role and how many days
Yeah.
and right. But when it came to the strikes, like no one was allowed to work because you're on strike. So,
Yeah.
and the thing is, up here in Canada, like I was in LA, but I could have worked in Canada. But the thing is, like,
Solidarity.
well, this is it. And then so if you're working, like there were people who were working and they weren't actually doing anything wrong, and people were very angry at them.
Yeah.
They were like, "What are you doing? Like, we're just here starving and like fighting for rights for everyone, and you're just taking advantage or something." So it's a very challenging
Yeah.
time, right? So it just meant like most of us in the industry, like we didn't have an income for 6 months. There's no money, dude, for like a half a year.
Yeah.
So I was living off savings, but it was very challenging.
Yeah, I can imagine, man. Can imagine. So did the strikers end up winning? Did they end up getting their demands met?
I mean, I think when it comes to this stuff, everybody loses, to be honest. I think
Yeah.
I think they had like most things in negotiations. Some of their demands were met, some were not, but I don't know. Let's call it a tie. The problem is that those 6 months where the industry stopped, basically, for Hollywood anyway, um, it took a lot of jobs away. It took a lot of development opportunities away. A lot of deals got burned, and the industry is not actually recovered. In fact, it's gotten worse since.
Oh,
So yeah, so in the year and a
let's
half,
talk about that. What's been
sure.
the fallout since of the fallout of the strike?
So the last 3 years, I've been in the industry for about 30 years. Okay, I've been
Yeah.
paid to act since I was touring camps and libraries in Toronto as a summer job at the age of 16. Okay, so I've been being paid to act for 30 years.
Okay.
The last 3 years have easily been the worst 3 years I've ever seen in my whole career.
Wow.
Okay. Now, I am lucky or fortunate, or, like I've started 96 episodes of television in those 3 years. Okay.
Yeah.
So I've been blessed, but at the same time, most of my friends have not been working at all. Many people have left the industry, and people have lost their homes. Like it was
Oh,
already
geez.
kind of brutal, but like since those strikes, and especially including the strikes, it's just fallen off a cliff. A buddy of mine is a pretty prominent lawyer in Hollywood for many, many decades, actually. And he was just telling me like 1/3 of all the jobs in Hollywood are gone.
Wow. A third.
Gone. That's a lot of jobs, dude. Like 1 out of 3 no longer exist. And they may not come back. People don't really know. So it's pretty tough time,
Yeah.
right? So this is the thing about the strikes, right? It's like, okay, like you've got some protections, you got some salary bumps, but what was the impact for the industry?
Yeah.
Was it worth it? I don't know. I mean, I'm not actually a member of either union, and I'm not sure if those strikes would have made things better, would have made it worse. Like, was this going to happen anyway? All I know is since the strikes, we've experienced one of the worst periods of unemployment ever in the industry, and it's been a year and a half, and it's still going. Like,
True. True.
right?
Yeah. Well, you mentioned that you're on a cryptocurrency show, so I had a cryptocurrency question to ask you.
Sure. Uh-huh.
Um, it's a very basic question. I want we all hear about crypto, but we don't know what it actually is. Why is
Right.
cryptocurrency different to other currencies?
Okay. Well, the answer is it isn't really. um, like
Yeah. Okay.
it depends, right? Like so, the official number it kind of changes, but the numbers there's about 20,000 different cryptocurrencies,
Yeah.
and they're all different from one another. And if you were to be like, okay, I mean, what's the difference really between the U.S. dollar or peso or the ruble or Bitcoin or Solana or Ethereum? There's all these different ones, right?
Yeah.
The answer is kind of like, well, it's kind of just what people decide to use, right? There's not really,
Okay.
in a way, you could really just call them currencies, but I think that, um, they're in this sort of digital ecosystem. So that's why you would call them cryptocurrencies, like, because that's sort of where they were created. But the reality is that pretty much every type of currency in the world can be converted to crypto anyway. And also, like, the new way that finance works is that you're constantly converting these currencies into an electronic currency that you're sending around the world. So I don't know if money is now data and you're sending that data around in all these different ways. I mean, you can send money to your phone, even an email transfer and all these things, right? Like,
Yeah.
what is the difference really between, you know, anything really, like Cardano or, you know, like the
Yeah.
euro or yen, or it's kind of like, how do you choose to transact business using money? And in
Yeah.
that case, they're all kind of different forms of money, right?
True. Okay. I see what
Yeah.
you mean.
Mhm.
Yeah. Cool. I had my savings in crypto when I was in when I was 20 actually. I was working at Tim Hortons and I would save in crypto. And that brings me into my next question. Would you recommend using crypto like a bank to store your money? Like storing all your savings, not all your savings, but like a lot of your savings like in Bitcoin or Ethereum, or I guess it depends on the coin, right? But
Right. Okay. Well, just because I also, I am sort of a television personality. Like I have to sort of disclose I am not a financial advisor.
Yeah,
Um,
I know.
so I cannot give financial advice, but I would say for me personally, just as a human being, I would not personally do that because crypto is notoriously volatile. Now,
Yeah.
I will say I personally hold a good amount of crypto. I've actually sold most of my crypto. I've actually made pretty good money on crypto because
Okay.
I was doing my job and crypto had crashed actually, but I bought everything up when it was like 80% off, and then it's all gone up like a
Yeah.
lot, right? So I've been selling and taking profits as it's all boomed. It's dipped a bit, but I've done pretty well to be honest. Um, and I still have some. I like to maximize what's there, but I bought like at the bottom and made good money on it. So I'm holding it to sell as an investment. But
Yeah.
if you and I've been doing that already, right? But if you ask me, should somebody today go and buy all this crypto and then trade everything in Bitcoin and use all these different apps to do? I wouldn't do that because crypto it's just so
Because
volatile.
it was marketed, I think, back in the day as like an alternative currency.
Yeah, I don't think that's the
Like
way
an
to.
alternative I think
Yeah,
like an alternative to fiat currency, but I don't think that's the way most people use it now.
I don't think so. I view it as an investment that's an alternative to fiat currency, but I don't view it as an alternative form of currency. I think you could. I mean, it's viable. The problem is that, especially in the Trump era, and I know you want to talk about Trump, and I'm happy to do
Yeah.
so. Like I work in finance all around the world. Partly that's how I got my job in crypto. Is that through Clubhouse, I was attached to different investment teams because I ran a
Yeah.
very prominent room called International Film Finance. So I built a very large network in finance. So I learned about
Okay.
crypto and finance, all this stuff. Um, but all of these circles are greatly impacted by Trump's erratic policies, where you don't know what he's going to do tomorrow. You don't know what he's going to say. You don't know what's true. You don't know what's a lie. And so in the investment space, it's very difficult to plan because there's no consistency, there's no certainty. And so the problem is that affects things like crypto because the macroeconomic environment is so volatile, and crypto is like the most volatile asset in the sort of economic system. Just it's just what it is. It's a new kind of way of having money, and the swings are very, very wild. Now, that can work in your favor. Some people do it because they like that because you can make a lot of money if you buy low and sell high. The problem is you don't really know, is it is it low or high right now, right? So
Yeah.
I personally wouldn't put all my money there because if it's all your money and you need that to live day to day, you don't want to look in your account and be like, "Oh, do I have 10,000 today or do I have 2,000 today?"
Yeah.
Very risky.
Very risky.
Yeah.
Interesting. So speaking of Trump, what do you think of ICE and Trump's policies? We were talking about that. We met guys, we actually chat. We met at a 7-Eleven at like 2 a.m. or something, 3 a.m. And we ended up talking about Trump and ICE. So I want to get your thoughts here in the interview on Trump and ICE.
Yeah, look, I've been pretty outspoken against Trump, which, to be honest, perhaps is a mistake because I'm a legal U.S. visa holder. Okay, so
Yeah.
I have my O1 visa. My agent, my manager have been based in Hollywood and Los Angeles for 4 years, so I could go to LA whenever I want. But
Yeah.
the problem is that I'm half Chinese, half Italian, and people think I look Mexican. So when I'm in LA, people just start speaking Spanish to me, and I don't speak Spanish. So I'm like, and so I don't know. I'm pretty terrified, to be honest, because people who look like me are being illegally deported. They're being hassled. They're being detained. Even people who, like, for example, so I have a friend who had a story about it was like his maid or something who had a
Yeah.
green card in the U.S. for many years and all this stuff. A green card, which is better than I have. I have a visa. She's a green card, and
Yeah.
they put her in prison, and it was wrong. And she actually ended up winning, but she had to hire a lawyer, and so she did nothing wrong. She got out, but it cost her $9,000.
Wow.
So the thing is that even when you do nothing wrong, if you get caught up in their drama for whatever reason, even if you're able to get out of it, not everyone can. If it can cost you a lot of money and really interrupt your life. So
Yeah.
this has been an ongoing question with my team. I have an immigration lawyer. I'm a professional. Look, I've started 96 episodes of TV in the last 3 years, right? Like I have a real career here, you know?
Yeah.
And the thing is that it's such a risk to go down there, especially with the US Canada friction, because I look Latino, because my last name is Del Rio, maybe it's Spanish, they don't know. Even though I have all the legal paperwork, you don't want to risk going to prison, even like getting deported, even hassled or fined or
And they might not deport you back to Canada. They might deport you to El Salvador, and then you're in a
right.
prison camp. You know what I mean? Like,
Right. Even though I'm Canadian and it doesn't matter. You don't know what they're going to. It's the same thing with investment in a way. You don't really know what Trump's going to do and what his representatives are going to do. So it's very terrifying proposition when he can potentially like impact your entire life, and that's really anyone on U.S. soil. So
yeah,
yeah.
true.
Anyway, I have opportunities to work in Canada. Again, I'm starting a new television series in the fall, so I'm good up here. But I probably would be in LA right now, to be honest. Between shows, like I have a lot of friends there, and my team's there. But
Yeah,
I've just been advised, literally by hundreds of people, like, do not go to LA right now. It's not safe.
true, true. So, yeah, man, damn.
Yeah, and it's
So,
like it wasn't easy to get that visa. It's like I had to prove myself
yeah,
as
it's
one of
not
the
easy
best
to
in
get a
my
visa to the
field.
U.S.
Thousands of dollars, like time, how many letters, like it took a really long time. It's not easy to get this paperwork, and then when they can just throw it away like gum on the bottom of your shoe, right? It's just like, oh my God, like
Yeah, for real. Damn, that makes me sad, man.
yeah, well, it is sad,
For
man.
real, you do all that work, and they can just still you do
Yeah,
everything right and by the book, and they still can fuck you. You know what I
that's
mean?
right.
Like,
I've done everything right. I literally have had their government approve me to work in their country because I've met all of their qualifications. But it kind of doesn't matter. Like it might matter, but it might not, right?
yeah,
Right. But I'm fortunate because I haven't been detained. Like I haven't been deported. Nothing has happened to me. But the impact is that it's because I'm not there. I'm here. So I
have
have
you
all
ever
my
been
friends who
arrested
want to see me.
before?
No, I have no record. No,
Okay.
nothing. But it's just to me, honestly, the way it lands, it's an attack on people of color. That's what that
Yeah,
is. If you're not white and you're in the US right now, you're not safe.
yeah,
That's what it looks like. That's what I keep hearing.
yeah, for real,
So,
for real. So, how is the border crisis affecting you as a Canadian based out of LA? Like going back and forth, and you
well,
know,
I'm just not going back and forth, basically.
yeah, I think that's what we were just. You kind of answered my question in the last question,
Yeah.
but
Yeah. I mean,
yeah,
I wouldn't, I'd like to go. I mean, to be honest, maybe it sounds a bit weird, but I've been very fortunate to work a lot, right? Like I'm going to start my fourth television series in 4 years in the fall. So
okay,
I get a lot of big opportunities, and I'm up for another big opportunity shooting in California, another television series. And part of me hopes I don't get it because if I get it, I have to shoot in the US, and there's a chance at any point me crossing a Pearson or wherever I cross, going into the US, going to US soil, some ICE agent could make something up, you know,
yeah,
beat me up, right? Put me in
yeah,
prison or send me back, or they do things too, like they'll just ban you from the US for 5 years, 10 years for no reason because they don't like Mexican people. They don't like Canadians. Right?
Yeah.
They
They don't
don't they
like their
don't like your
neighbors.
face or who knows. No, I do know quite a few people who've gone to the US during this time and they haven't had problems. The problem is you just don't know, are you going to be one of the people they flag? And I'm not going
Yeah.
to lie, me being a person of color, even though, I'm not a black person, you know what I mean? Like obviously there's like race is a spectrum, but
Yeah.
I'm not white and they're targeting Latino people. They're targeting people who look like me.
Yeah.
So I don't want to take that risk.
True, true. That leads me to my next question, which you kind of already answered, though, is are you scared of being deported if you go back, even if you have a visa? Do you think that's so bad right now that they would actually deport you even though you're illegally allowed to be there?
100%. And for me, it's not even just that I'd be afraid to be deported, because I mean, I'm in Canada. I think Canada is the best country in the world. So
Yeah.
being deported back to Canada is fine. I mean, that's kind of like my life now, right?
Yeah.
But
That's
the
fine.
problem is they're not just like, oh, go home, It's like they're sending you to different countries, right? They're like not they're following due process, like I don't know. What if it's like, here's my passport and my visa and everything, and they burn it because they don't care, and they punch me in the face, and then they throw me in some van with 20 other guys who look like me, and now we're on a
Yeah.
plane to God knows where. Like that's what's happening to people. So, like my agent thinks I'd be fine because I'm a television personality, and but the problem is I don't know, man. You just in this climate, I honestly think it's a war on anyone who's not white. That's how I view it. And I'm
Yeah.
not white. So I'm staying in Canada. We're safe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, man, for real. So thank you for answering all those questions.
Yeah.
Wrapping up here now. What's next for you, Bobby Del Rio?
Well, like I said, I have a new show. I just had a call actually this morning. So I can't launch it yet. We're gonna announce the show in the fall, but I've been working on the new television series. I write it and I'm gonna host it. It's probably been about a month that I've been working on the new show. But today we had a big call about here's the name, here's the format, here's the style. We're gonna try these things. So I'll probably start shooting in August. That's the plan as of this morning. We'll get a few episodes in the can, and then we do official launch in September, and then we start releasing new episodes every week.
Okay.
And that's what we've done in the past. So I've done 90 episodes at Newsform for two different shows. And so I know everyone, everyone's awesome. They're like my family. I'm very fortunate to work with people who treat me very well. And so, I kind of know how it works. And so we're just going to get started later this summer.
Okay.
Yeah,
Nice.
that's what I'm doing.
Cool, man. So do you have any you're an older guy. Do you have any advice for Gen Z in this world? You've probably seen like, you've seen a couple of things. You've seen like the Iraq War and you've seen like um different things going on like in the world.
Sure.
So what do you have any advice for Gen Z?
Well, the first thing I'll say is it hurts that you frame the question that way because I'm like aware that like, oh my God, I'm gonna be 50 soon, so I just have to like that. That's not you, bro. That's just me. I'm like, okay, I'm going to my cousin's birthday in a couple weeks, and he's turning 50, and I'm just
Yeah,
like, oh my God, what do you mean, bro? You're 50. We were talking about girls as teenagers like yesterday in my mind.
yeah,
Um, so that's just what it is. The thing I will say to answer your question very honestly, though, I think that younger people are very worried and scared right now, which I understand. It's like Trump's a maniac, and like Israel and Iran are at war, and how many like it's like it's a terror. This is like one of the worst periods in history that I've seen and grown up in. But what I will say is that it's temporary.
Yeah.
So even though like a lot of people are like, oh, there's never going to be elections again, and Trump's going to destroy all these things, and I don't think he will, to be honest. Like I think that he's going to try, but if you really look at what he's doing, I mean, he keeps getting pushed back by his own courts. They keep. I think they're like, look, they are committing some crimes, but they're usually being caught by their own system and having to send people back. And so this game is going to continue for the next 3.5 years, and then he's gone. And look, it's possible the Republicans are going to win again. I don't think they are. Maybe they will, but I don't think you'll ever have anyone as crazy as Trump ever again. Knock on wood.
Yeah.
So I would tell younger people living through this Kafka-esque nightmare that is the world right now to have faith, right? And stay hopeful, because this is only temporary, and we need the next generation to step up and to learn from the mistakes of these other generations, where we can't have a world like this. We can't have like, I'm a pretty successful guy, man, and I'm like hoping I don't get a television series in Hollywood because I might go to prison for no reason. It's like, nobody wants to live that way, right? So we need to change society, and that starts with you guys. It starts with the next generation believing that it's possible.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, thank you, Bobby Del Rio. I really appreciate it. Thank you guys for watching. W's in the chat. And thank you. This has been Away TV.
Thanks for having me, bro.
Okay, hold on. Let me.
Okay. Said you ain't. Walking this bitch.